Reckoning. 3 stories about love, memory, and the moments that change us forever. Some stories are written to entertain. Others are written because carrying them alone became impossible. These are the latter. The cost of having believed. Heartbreak doesn't arrive all at once. It comes in quiet realizations. 41 wasn't supposed to be the age I fell in love. Not like this. I thought that part of my life had already happened. After years of disappointment, I'd become comfortable with solitude. It wasn't exciting, but it was safe. My heart had become something I kept locked behind doors. Not because I had nothing left to give, but because I knew exactly what it cost when it was given to the wrong person. Then she arrived. She didn't ask me to trust her. She simply became someone I wanted to trust. Weeks became memories almost without permission. Afternoons disappeared into conversations. Nights stretched into mornings. We laughed at things that wouldn't make sense to anyone else. We found comfort in ordinary moments that somehow felt extraordinary because we shared them. One evening we wandered through the park with nowhere we needed to be. The world seemed to shrink until it was just the two of us. We kissed beneath open skies, held one another close, and for a while I forgot what it felt like to be guarded. The following night she stayed with me again. There wasn't anything dramatic about it. We simply fell asleep beside one another, breathing in rhythm, sharing the kind of silence that only exists between people who believe tomorrow will look much like today. Earlier that day, she smiled and called me her muse. It was one word. But sometimes one word is enough to change the future you begin building inside your own mind. And that's the cruel thing about hope. It doesn't ask permission before it grows. By the time I realized how deeply I'd begun to believe, I had already imagined a future that no longer existed. Looking back, I don't mourn a month. I mourn the man who finally believed he could love again. Sometimes the greatest heartbreak isn't losing another person. It's losing the version of yourself who thought this time would be different. The story that remained. Memory doesn't preserve events. It preserves meaning. I've replayed those weeks so many times that I can no longer know which memories belong to the past and which belong to the questions I keep asking. Memory is strange that way. It edits, it rearranges, it fills silence with explanations that may never have existed. Some moments remain crystal clear. Her calling me her muse. Falling asleep beside each other without saying much at all. The easy conversations that made hours disappear. The feeling that I wasn't alone anymore. Other memories become impossible to trust. Did we want the same future? Did we hear the same words? Were we living inside the same story? Or was I reading chapters she never intended to write? Heartbreak isn't only losing someone, it's becoming an unreliable witness to your own life. You start searching every conversation for hidden meanings. Every smile becomes evidence. Every goodbye becomes a clue. You wonder when the happiest moments were genuine or whether you've rewritten them because that's easier than accepting uncertainty. Eventually, I stopped asking who was right. That question has no ending. The better question became this: what can I carry forward that doesn't require someone else to agree with my version of the past? The answer surprised me. Love can be real, even when it doesn't last. Hope can be genuine, even when it's misplaced. And two people can walk away from the same story carrying completely different endings. Memory doesn't ask who won, it only decides what remains. The night hope died. Some nights don't end when the sun comes up. There are nights that quietly become borders. You don't recognize them while you're living them. Only afterward do you realize your life can be divided into before and after. That evening began like any other. I was walking home with a slice of pizza, still carrying the weight of the words I'd finally managed to write down. The letter wasn't meant to start a fight. It was simply my attempt to say goodbye to a future I could already feel slipping away. And then I saw her. Time has a peculiar way of slowing when reality collides with expectation. One moment I was thinking about closure. The next, I was standing in a situation I never imagined I'd find myself in. Voices grew louder. Tempers rose. People appeared. What had been heartbreak suddenly became something far more chaotic. Security stepped in. Police arrived. The evening no longer belonged to emotion alone. It belonged to procedure, perception, and the uncomfortable realization that once other people become part of your story, you lose control over how it's told. When everything was finally over, I walked home alone. The pizza had gone cold, so had every certainty I'd carried with me. People often imagine that hope dies with a dramatic final sentence. Mine didn't. It died quietly, one realization at a time. And somewhere between the flashing lights and the long walk home, I understood that some chapters don't end because we choose to close the book. They end because the story we believed we were living no longer exists. Some nights don't end when morning comes. Some become the line that separates the person you were from the person you're still trying to become.